In the summer, I turned pretty. Season 3, Episode 4. Things aren't just complicated, they're collapsing. As the trailer teases, what started as a bold choice is now cracking under the weight of unspoken feelings. Broken trust, and the one question Belly's too afraid to answer out loud. What if she still loves Conrad? Belly and Jeremiah were supposed to be happy, weren't they? After that dinner table disaster, after Laurel's silence turned into fire, after Steven's shock became disbelief, things were supposed to calm down. But they haven't. In fact, they've only gotten worse. Episode 4 picks up not with celebration, but with hesitation. The trailer shows Belly surrounded by boxers, talking about moving forward, but her voice sounds flat, uncertain. Jeremiah is trying. He's doing everything to be her anchor, but he doesn't realize she's already drifting. The moment Laurel asked her to come home, and Jeremiah didn't fight for her, something inside Belly shifted. It wasn't just about picking sides. It was about realizing that when things get hard, Jeremiah lets her go, even when she's begging, silently, for someone to hold on. And now that Conrad's voice has entered the conversation again, things are spiraling. Laurel, desperate to stop Belly from repeating her own mistakes, reaches out to the one person who might actually get through to her. And that's when everything starts to unravel. Conrad shows up not to fight, but to accept. He doesn't argue. He doesn't beg. But every word he says makes it clear he's not over her. Not even close. And Belly feels it. She feels it in the way her chest tightens when he talks. She feels it in the way her memories betray her at night. And when he finally asks her the one thing she didn't want to hear, "Are you really happy?" she doesn't have an answer. Because she's not. Not really. Not yet. Meanwhile, Jeremiah is making plans, decorating rooms, talking about honeymoons and furniture and the future. But Belly's still stuck in the past. Every corner of the cousin's house is haunted with a memory she didn't want back. Every quiet moment with Jeremiah is loud with all the things she's trying not to feel. And things get worse when Taylor and Steven finally confront her. In a brutally honest scene, Taylor asks Belly if she's actually in love with Jeremiah or if she's just trying to outrun her heartbreak. Belly tries to laugh it off, but Steven doesn't let her. He says he's watched her grow up, and he knows her better than she thinks. And he knows, deep down, she's not okay. Not really. All of this, the wedding, the moving in, the pushing Laurel away, it's a reaction, not a decision. And Belly's silence says it all. She doesn't argue. She just leaves the room, more confused than ever, because they're right. And now, with Paris on the horizon and Conrad back in her life, Belly's heart isn't just torn, it's screaming. Episode 4 isn't just about love, it's about fear. Fear of choosing wrong, fear of settling, fear of hurting the people you care about because you don't want to admit you're hurting yourself. Belly's drowning in expectations from Laurel, from Jeremiah, from everyone who thinks she's finally grown up. But what if growing up means realizing you don't know what you want yet? What if saying yes to Jeremiah was less about love and more about escaping the pain that Conrad left behind? This episode teases a turning point, a moment where Belly finally stops running and actually asks herself the hardest question of all. What does she want? Not just now, but forever. And that answer might destroy everything. The walls are closing in, and Belly is finally feeling the weight of her choices. Episode 4 doesn't just explore the aftermath of an impulsive engagement. It digs deep into the emotional landmines. Belly has been stepping over 4 years, and now they're exploding. Every moment she shares with Jeremiah feels more forced, more filtered. They smile, they plan, they go through the motions, but it's hollow. Because under the surface, Belly's heart is somewhere else, and she's starting to realize it. The trailer gives us small glimpses. Belly sitting alone, staring at her engagement ring, Laurel watching her daughter with quiet heartbreak, and Jeremiah trying to stay upbeat as he senses the distance growing between them. These aren't just throwaway moments, they're warning signs. And the louder Jeremiah talks about their future, the more Belly feels like she's being pulled under. Laurel isn't saying much, but her silence is louder than any outburst. She's withdrawn, not in anger, but in sorrow. She sees the path Belly is on, and it scares her because she's been there. She's made choices out of pain, out of confusion, out of a desperate need to feel loved. And she knows how quickly those choices can turn into regrets. That's why she calls Conrad, not to fix things, but to at least give Belly a moment of clarity. And when Conrad shows up, it's not dramatic or romantic. It's quiet, careful, but everything changes. He doesn't need to say "I love you" for Belly to feel it. It's in the way he looks at her, like he still sees the girl she used to be the one who ran barefoot through the sand and believed in forever. And Belly, who's been trying so hard to be grown up and logical and mature, suddenly remembers what it felt like to be really deeply in love. But this isn't a love triangle anymore. It's a pressure cooker, and it's about to explode. Steven, who's tried to be the protective big brother, is running out of patience. He tells Belly she's being reckless, not because she's getting married, but because she's not listening to herself. Taylor, too, becomes more vocal. She's watched Belly fall apart and stitch herself back together over and over again. And now, as her best friend stands on the edge of something life-changing, Taylor is scared. Because Belly isn't glowing with happiness. She's barely holding it together. There's a moment, brief but powerful, when Belly admits to Taylor that she's not sure she's ready. Not for marriage, not for forever, and definitely not for letting go of Conrad. Meanwhile, Jeremiah is spiraling in his own way. He's always been the easygoing one, the smile-in-the-sunlight guy who made things feel safe. But he's not stupid. He sees Belly slipping away, and it terrifies him. He starts to overcompensate, planning more, talking more, promising more. But the more he tries to hold on to Belly, the more obvious it becomes that something's wrong. And the worst part, he doesn't know how to fix it. Because deep down, he knows this isn't just about him. It's about Conrad. And that realization hits hard. There's a quiet scene, one that mirrors something from the books, where Jeremiah finds an old picture of Belly and Conrad. And for a second, he just stares. No jealousy, just heartbreak. Because he knows what Belly won't say. A part of her never left that first love behind. This episode is the breaking point. Every character is caught in their own storm. And the sky is darkening. Laurel is trying to protect her daughter without pushing her away. Steven is struggling to accept that he might lose his sister to a mistake she can't undo. Taylor is watching her best friend unravel. Jeremiah is trying to be everything Belly needs and realizing he might never be enough. And Belly? She's caught between two versions of herself. The girl who once loved Conrad so deeply it hurt, and the woman trying to build a life with Jeremiah out of what's left. The trailer hints at a moment of final clarity. Something Belly says or something she remembers. That changes everything. Maybe it's a conversation with Conrad, maybe it's a breakdown with Laurel, maybe it's just a single question echoing in her head. What if I'm marrying the wrong person? Whatever it is, it's coming. And once it arrives, there's no going back. The house and cousins won't be the same. The relationships won't survive untouched. And Belly's heart will finally have to choose, not out of fear, not out of guilt, but for real this time. The next episodes are going to test every thread that holds this story together. And when it unravels, it won't be pretty. It'll be honest and painful. And maybe, just maybe, freeing. The storm Belly has been avoiding is finally hitting full force. In episode 4, the cracks that were forming around her engagement to Jeremiah are no longer invisible. They're wide open, undeniable, and bleeding into every conversation, every glance, every breath she takes. Belly has always struggled with decisions, not because she doesn't care, but because she cares too much. And now, that emotional weight is suffocating her. It's not just about Jeremiah or Conrad. It's about identity. It's about guilt. It's about trying to be the version of herself that makes everyone else happy, even if she's miserable inside. And as the trailer hints, this pressure is about to explode in a way that will leave no one untouched. Jeremiah is doing everything he can to hold it together. He's trying so hard to be the version of himself Belly needs, calm, supportive, positive, but he's beginning to unravel too. Every smile feels tighter, every word feels rehearsed. And the more Belly pulls back emotionally, physically, the more desperate he becomes to pretend nothing is wrong. It's not that he doesn't love her, he does, deeply. But what he's slowly realizing is that love might not be enough. Not if it's one-sided. Not if Belly's heart isn't truly in this. There's a moment in episode 4 where Jeremiah tries to plan a small getaway, something to reset the energy between them. He's grasping at something light, something romantic. But Belly says no, not because she's angry, but because she's tired. And for the first time, she's starting to admit to herself, if not to him, that maybe she's not ready to commit to this life they're pretending to build. Meanwhile, Conrad's presence is looming larger than ever. He's not doing anything outwardly manipulative, he's not trying to break them up. But his existence alone is enough to shake the fragile foundation of Belly's engagement. Every time he walks into the room, Belly looks like she can't breathe. There's a conversation they share in this episode that's quiet, but devastating. He asks her, "Do you ever think about that day on the beach?" And she doesn't answer. She doesn't have to. Her eyes say everything. She thinks about it every day. Because with Conrad, it wasn't just about being in love. It was about being seen, about being understood, about that connection that doesn't go away. Not with time, not with pain, not even with an engagement ring on your finger. This episode also gives us a deeper look at Laurel's pain, something we haven't truly explored since season 2. Laurel has spent years trying to give Belly space, trying to let her figure things out on her own. But this engagement is her limit. Not because she doesn't trust Belly, but because she knows Belly. She sees through the facade. She recognizes the avoidance, the fear, the pattern of Belly making huge decisions to distract herself from what's really hurting inside. Laurel knows that pain. She lived it, she married it, and she doesn't want that cycle to continue. There's a heartbreaking scene between mother and daughter where Laurel doesn't yell or scold. She just looks at Belly and says, "You don't have to prove anything to anyone, especially not to yourself." And for the first time, Belly cries because someone is finally giving her permission to stop pretending. Even Taylor, who has been Belly's ride or die since day one, starts pulling away a bit in this episode. Not out of anger, but out of exhaustion. She's tired of watching her best friend implode, tired of trying to fix what's already broken. Taylor tells Belly she loves her, but she's done lying to protect her feelings. "You're not okay," she says. "And it's okay not to be okay. But you have to stop dragging everyone into the fire with you." Those words hit Belly hard, because she knows Taylor is right. And suddenly, she's seeing just how many people are getting burned by her indecision. Steven, Laurel, Jeremiah, Conrad, even herself. And then there's the Paris trip. Belly was supposed to go abroad to escape, to grow, to find herself. But now it's become a symbol of everything she's running from. Should she still go? Should she stay? Should she postpone the wedding? Should she end it altogether? These questions are buzzing around her mind like bees in a jar, loud, painful, and impossible to silence. Conrad, ever the quiet support, tells her she should go. Not because he wants her to run, but because he wants her to breathe. "Find out who you are without anyone else telling you," he says. "Then come back, or don't. But make the choice for you." And Belly, for the first time, starts to consider that maybe she doesn't need to choose between Jeremiah and Conrad right now. Maybe the real choice is between who she's pretending to be and who she actually is. As the episode ends, we're left with Belly at a crossroads. The ring on her finger suddenly feels heavier than ever. The house that once felt like a dream now feels like a cage. And the people she loves most are starting to drift away. Not because they don't care, but because they can't keep carrying her uncertainty anymore. This is Belly's breaking point. And whether she runs to Paris or stays in Cousins, one thing is clear. Nothing will ever be the same again. Everything Belly thought she could ignore is now staring her in the face. Episode 4 of the Summer I Turned Pretty season 3 pushes her to the edge of every emotional wall she's built and then forces her to tear them down. This isn't just another love triangle episode. This is where emotional honesty takes center stage. And for once, Belly can't hide behind distractions, plans, or silence. The weight of her choices has never felt more unbearable, and the people around her are beginning to demand answers not for themselves, but because they see how deeply she's suffering. Even Jeremiah, the one person she was trying to protect with her yes, is starting to feel like he's been caught in a promise that was never real to begin with. And Belly, she's finally starting to see how dangerous it is to pretend love is enough when your heart's still tied to someone else. The episode opens with silence. Not the peaceful kind, the tense, choking kind. Belly is home, but it doesn't feel like home anymore. She's back in Cousins for just a few days before her flight to Paris. But nothing about it feels right. Her room is too clean. Her suitcase is half empty. She walks through the house like a ghost, haunted by her own doubts. She catches glimpses of Jeremiah moving around the kitchen, folding laundry, acting like things are normal, and that's what breaks her. Because he wants things to be normal. He wants to believe this engagement is still something solid. But Belly knows it's slipping through her fingers like sand, and she can't tell if it's her fault for grabbing too fast or because it was never meant to last. She doesn't know what hurts more, the guilt of hurting him or the fear of choosing comfort over truth. There's a heartbreaking moment where she finds an old journal entry from the summer before everything changed, before Susanna died, before the boys shattered, before the love she thought would last forever became too complicated to carry. It's a note about Conrad. Not dramatic, not poetic. Just a line she scribbled one night. "When he looks at me like that, I forget to breathe." And now, reading it again, Belly feels like she's been running from that version of herself. The girl who believed in love without overthinking it, without fear, without layers of responsibility and grief and pressure to be someone she's not. That girl is still in there, buried under every choice she's made since Anna's belly clutches that page in her hands. Her tears say everything she can't. But she's not the only one breaking. Jeremiah has started to sense the change. For days, he's been watching Belly drift. He's noticed the way she zones out mid-conversation, the way she avoids talking about the wedding, the way her smile disappears the second he turns away. And instead of lashing out, instead of yelling, Jeremiah does something even more heartbreaking. He asks her, gently, "Do you still want this?" And Belly freezes. She doesn't answer. Not because she doesn't know, but because she does. And that silence shatters something between them. Jeremiah's face falls, not with anger, but with understanding. And that's what kills Belly the most. The fact that he still chooses kindness, even when his heart is cracking open. Later in the episode, we finally get the confrontation that's been building for seasons. Belly and Conrad alone. Number? Distractions, no noise. Just years of love, pain, and unfinished sentences between them. Conrad tries to stay distant, but he can't. He's loved her too long. And Belly, who's been pretending to be someone new, finally lets herself speak. From the past. "I don't know who I am anymore," she says. "But I know who I was with you." And Conrad, without hesitation, says, "That's still you." It's not a proposal. It's not a declaration. It's a reminder of everything they were, of everything they might still be. And as Belly looks at him, really looks, you can see the walls collapsing. She doesn't lean in for a kiss. She doesn't say "I love you." She just breathes. For the first time in what feels like forever. Meanwhile, Laurel is watching it all unfold with a heavy heart. She knows her daughter is breaking, but she also knows this is necessary. Belly can't be protected from pain anymore. She has to walk through it. And Laurel, in one of the most vulnerable moments of the season, admits to Steven that she's scared. Scared that Belly will make the same mistakes she did. Scared that she'll lose herself in trying to be what everyone expects. But Steven surprises her. He says something that flips the script. Maybe she needs to fall apart before she can build the life she really wants. And for the first time, Laurel lets go. She stops trying to control. She stops pushing. She just chooses to love her daughter through whatever comes next. As the episode closes, Belly is standing at the airport. Her flight to Paris boards in 30 minutes. Jeremiah is not with her, neither is Conrad. She's alone. And that's the point. For the first time, Belly is choosing to be alone, not because she's lost, but because she needs to be found. She looks down at the engagement ring in her hand and slips it into her coat pocket. Not a rejection, not a promise. Just a pause, a breath, a moment to say, "I'm not ready." And that's okay. The screen fades to black with a single voiceover line. "I thought I had to choose between them. But maybe the choice was always about me." And just like that, the tone of the whole season shifts. This isn't about Team Conrad or Team Jeremiah anymore. It's about Belly finding the courage to choose herself, whatever that means, wherever. It takes her and whoever's left standing by her side in the end. The decision Belly makes at the airport isn't the ending. It's the beginning of something far more difficult and far more real. The Summer I Turned Pretty Season 3 Episode 4 leaves us in emotional pieces. But the real fallout starts now. And in Episode 5, Belly is no longer hiding behind smiles or romantic illusions. She's out in the world, alone, and every moment is forcing her to confront the version of herself she's been running from. It's quiet, it's terrifying, and it's exactly what she needs. When Belly lands in Paris, there are no fanfare moments. No magical eat, pray, love transformation, just loneliness, jet lag, cold air, and the aching emptiness that follows a big decision you're not sure was right, but you know was necessary. The distance from cousins doesn't quiet her heart, it makes it louder. With every step through unfamiliar streets, Belly feels the weight of everything she left behind, not just Jeremiah or Conrad, but the idea that love could save her from herself. She begins to journal again, the way she used to before everything got so complicated. She writes without editing, without filtering, without trying to be the version of herself everyone expects. It's raw, messy, sometimes painful, but it's healing. Through these entries, Belly finally begins to make peace with her past. She writes about Susanna, about the summer that changed everything, about the moment she first realized she was in love with Conrad, about how Jeremiah made her feel safe, but how safety sometimes felt like a hiding place instead of a home. She writes about her fear of ending up alone, her fear of never being enough, and most of all, her fear that no matter how far she runs, her heart will always be tied to the beach house in Cousins, to the memories. The pieces of her that were left scattered, they're like shells after a storm. Back in Cousins, things are tense. Laurel is quiet, not angry, just distant. She misses her daughter, but she respects the silence. Stephen is caught in the middle, trying to support everyone without burning out himself. And Jeremiah. He's changed. The boy who used to chase joy now moves slower, more guarded. He's been forced to grow up in the span of one heartbreak. The engagement that once felt like a fresh start now sits in the past like a heavy shadow. He's not texting Belly every day. He's not waiting by the phone. He's trying, really trying, to let go with dignity, but it's killing him. Because deep down, he still believes they could have made it work. If only she had fought harder. If only Conrad hadn't come back. If only she hadn't paused when he needed her to say yes with her whole heart. Conrad, meanwhile, is quieter than ever. He doesn't talk about Paris, he doesn't talk about Belly, but everyone around him knows she's still on his mind. He's walking through life like a man who's already lost everything and is too scared to hope he might get it back, but then something unexpected happens. He finds one of Belly's old drawings, something she sketched the summer before Susanna got sick. It's a simple picture. The three of them at the pier, smiling, young, free. And in that moment, Conrad realizes something. He doesn't love Belly because she made things easy. He loves her because she's always made him feel alive. Even when it hurt. Even when they fought. Even when everything fell apart. And maybe that kind of love is worth fighting for. Even now. Episode 5 will explore what happens when space becomes clarity. When the silence finally speaks. Belly begins to realize that her journey was never about choosing between two boys. It was about finding her voice in a world that kept telling her who she should be. And now that she's far away from it all, she can finally hear herself loud and clear. There's a scene, beautifully quiet, where Belly watches the sunrise over the Seine. No dialogue. Just her journal, and the light reflecting off the river. And in that moment, she closes her eyes and smiles. Not because she's found all the answers, but because, for the first time, she's not afraid of the questions. But of course, peace doesn't last forever. One text from home changes everything. It's from Stephen. Just a few words. Come home, it's time. And Belly knows whatever she ran from, whatever she tried to leave behind, it's waiting for her. The conversations she avoided, the hearts she broke, the truth she buried, it's all still there. And now, it's time to face it. The final moments of episode 5 will set the tone for the rest of the season. Belly boarding a plane. Her heart no longer in pieces, but still aching. Jeremiah standing on the porch of the beach house, watching the waves with eyes full of wood. Conrad walking away from the pier, but turning back just once to see if maybe, just maybe, she'll return. And Laurel, standing in Belly's bedroom, holding her daughter's engagement ring, and finally, letting out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. This season isn't about a perfect ending. It's about a real one. About the kind of love that survives truth. About the people who wait even when it hurts. And about a girl not trying to turn pretty. Not trying to be perfect, but just trying to be whole. Whatever comes next. One thing is clear. Belly is not the same girl who said yes at that dinner table. She's braver now. And whether she ends up with Jeremiah, with Conrad, or with no one at all, she's finally ready to choose. Not out of fear, not out of guilt, but out of love, real love, the kind that begins with loving herself.